गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजन् ब्रह्मणस्पत आनश्विन्वोनूतिभिः सीदसादनम् ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गे स्तुष्टुवंसस्तरुणैव क्षेमदेवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः केनेषीतं पतति प्रेषीतं मनः केन प्राणः प्रथमः प्रैतियुक्तः केनेषीतं वाचमीमं वदन्ति चक्षुः श्रोत्रं कौ देवो युनक्ति श्रोत्रस्य श्रोत्रं मनसो मनो यद्वाचः वाचं सौ प्राणस्य प्राणः चक्षुषः चक्षुरतिमुच्यधीराः प्रत्यास्मालोकादमृता भवन्ति न तत्र चक्षुर्गच्छति न वाग्गच्छति नो मनः न विद्मो न विजानीमो यथैतदनुशिष्यात् अन्यदेव तद्विदितादथो अविदितादधि इति शुश्रूम पूर्वेषं येनस्तद्व्याचचक्षुरे यद्वाचान अभ्युदितं येन वाक्अभ्युद्यते तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विधिनेदं यदिदम् उपासते यन्मनसा न मनुते येनाहुर्मनोमतं तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विधिनेदं यदिदम् उपासते यच्चक्षुषा न पश्यति येन चक्षुंषि पश्यति तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विधिनेदं यदिदम् उपासते यच्छ्रोत्रेण न शृणोति येन श्रोत्रमिदं सुतं तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विधिनेदं यदिदम् उपासते यत्प्राणेन न प्राणेति येन प्राणः प्रणीयते तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विधिनेदं यदिदम् उपासते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Thank you, Sanket, for invoking such an inspiring environment.
शैशव दशा में देश प्रायः जिस समय सब व्याप्त थे, निःशेष विषयों में तभी हम प्रौढ़ता को प्राप्त थे। संसार को पहले हमी ने ज्ञान शिक्षा दान की, संसार को पहले हमी ने ज्ञान शिक्षा दान की, आचार की, व्यापार की, व्यवहार की, विज्ञान की। यदि विश्व की समग्र प्राचीन सभ्यता संस्कृतियों का तुलनात्मक विश्लेषण किया जाए तो निश्चय ही यह कहा जा सकता है कि मैथिली शरण गुप्त द्वारा रचित इन पंक्तियों में कहीं कोई अतिशयोक्ति नहीं है। नमस्कार। विश्व विरासत दिवस के अवसर पर दी हेरिटेज क्लब द्वारा आयोजित इस सेमिनार में हम आपका हार्दिक स्वागत एवं अभिनंदन करते हैं।
When I say your presence here alters your heritage, it does so beyond the context of your books to the reference of your apprehensions. We all carry a heritage within and around us. Identification of our behaviors, actions, patterns, and social fabric that significantly model cultures of culinary courtesies, clothing, and belief systems carried through generations as a shared yet empirically threaded heritage. A thorough understanding of our heritage brings visibility to the lives of people before us and the ones that will come after us. With these ideas in mind, the Heritage Club of Shaheed Bhagat Singh College brings forth a space for everyone to be able to interact beyond all boundaries of differences in harmony and not discrimination. I now heartily welcome Professor Seema Bawa, our guest for today's lecture. Professor Seema Bawa specializes in South Asian art and culture at the Department of History, University of Delhi. She has authored books such as Gods, men and women, gender and sexuality in early Indian art and religion. Her interest and research lie in the field of art, architecture, iconography, gender and more. She was the recipient of DAAD Fellowship to read at the University of Bonn. Also, a writer on contemporary Indian art and culture for national newspapers and magazines, she has edited the Art Times and curated shows like The Decorated Cow, Siddharth and Shatabdi, Feminine Sensibilities in Indian Art for Lalit Kala Academy. The scope of her intellectual interest ranges from academic to popular culture and media, as also ancient Indian to contemporary art practices. We welcome you, ma'am. It's an honor to have you among us today. I request Gaurav sir, Assistant Professor, to please present the stole to our guest. I also request Dr. Salim Ansari, co-convener of our club and assistant professor, to present the gift.
धन्यवाद सर। अब मैं अनुरोध करता हूं इतिहास विभाग की एसोसिएट प्रोफेसर मिस मीता हुसैन मैम से कि वे प्राचार्य महोदय प्रोफेसर अरुण कुमार अत्री सर को स्टॉल उपहार स्वरूप भेंट करें। धन्यवाद मैम। इसी कड़ी में आगे बढ़ते हुए मैं अनुरोध करता हूं हमारी प्रेरणा स्रोत, ज्ञानाधार, मार्गदर्शिता, हेरिटेज क्लब की कन्वीनर, इतिहास विभाग की असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर मैडम नीदा कि वे आभार स्वरूप प्राचार्य महोदय को उपस्थित करें। धन्यवाद मैम। साथ ही मैं मैम से अनुरोध करता हूं कि वे हेरिटेज क्लब की ओर से विश्व विरासत दिवस के उपलक्ष्य में अपना वक्तव्य रखें। मैम प्लीज।
नमस्ते, आदाब, सत श्री अकाल, वणक्कम। भाषाएं अनेक, भाव एक। उसी को प्रदर्शित करते हुए आज आपके सामने प्रस्तुत करना चाहते हैं द हेरिटेज क्लब ऑफ शहीद भगत सिंह कॉलेज। आप लोग इस क्लब के आइडिया से शायद पिछले 2 महीने से वाकिफ हैं, लेकिन ये विचार तकरीबन आज से 1 साल पहले जन्मा। यहाँ बैठे बहुत सारे लोगों से उस पे विचार विमर्श हुआ। काफी हेरिटेज एक्सपर्ट से भी इससे सलाह ली गई। फिर हमने ये प्रस्ताव अपने प्रिंसिपल सर के सामने रखा और उन्होंने इसको स्वीकृति दी। उसी के चलते आपके सामने प्रस्तुत करते हैं द हेरिटेज क्लब ऑफ शहीद भगत सिंह कॉलेज। ये भारत बदलता हुआ भारत है। ये भारत नई युवा पीढ़ी का भारत है और ये विश्वविद्यालय आपसे न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी के द्वारा जाने जाने वाला विश्वविद्यालय है। जब नेप हमारे सामने रखा गया तो ये विचार था कि सोशल साइंसेस के लिए उसमें क्या है। इसी विचार के उत्तर में जन्मा हेरिटेज क्लब। जो इथोस है हमारे नेप के वो है skill enhancement and how to associate it with vocational studies and how to bring education outside the classroom। इसीलिए हमने हेरिटेज क्लब की स्थापना की है। ये कोई एक मुहिम नहीं है, ये एक बहुत सारे चरणों में तय किए जाने वाला सफर है। इसके पहले चरण में मैं आपका स्वागत करती हूँ। इस चरण में हमें तलाश थी ऐसे हेरिटेज क्लब से जुड़े पर्सनालिटीज की या ऐसे लोगों की, ऐसे स्टूडेंट्स की जो इसके लिए काम कर सके। और आज मैं बहुत गर्व के साथ कह सकती हूँ कि ये पूरा समारोह ऐसे ही स्टूडेंट्स ने ऑर्गेनाइज किया है। हम यहाँ सिर्फ फैसिलिटेटर्स की तरह खड़े हुए हैं। जब हम दिल्ली की बात करते हैं तो हम कल्चर की बात करते हैं, हेरिटेज की बात करते हैं, सभ्यता की बात करते हैं। बट कभी किसी ने सोचा है कि दिल्ली क्या है? दिल्ली आप लोग हैं जो दिल्ली से नहीं हैं। आप दिल्ली के साथ आते हैं, अपनी संस्कृति लेके आते हैं और दिल्ली का कल्चर बनाते हैं। दिल्ली एक मेल्टिंग पॉट है। इसी सिद्धांत को फॉलो करते हुए एक प्रोटोटाइप है, कहें तो एक एक्सपेरिमेंट है। और क्योंकि यहाँ हमारे मेंटोर और संरक्षक प्रोफेसर अरुण कुमार असली सर हैं, अभी हम सिर्फ एक इंस्टा पेज तक सीमित हैं, बट हम चाहते हैं कि एक वेबसाइट हो, एक ऐसा वेबसाइट जहाँ ना सिर्फ इस कॉलेज के लोग बट समक्ष डीयू के स्टूडेंट कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट की तरह काम करें। लोकल फॉर लोकल की जो बात आती है, अपनी संस्कृतियों के बारे में उसमें ब्लॉग बनाएं, उसमें ब्लॉग लिखें। और हम देख चुके हैं कि पिछले कुछ महीनों में शहीद भगत सिंह कॉलेज जो है वो बाकी कॉलेजों के लिए एक लीडर के तौर पे उभरा है। हम ऐसे बहुत सारे काम कर रहे हैं। मे बी हमारा ये प्रयास भी यूनिवर्सिटी के लिए एक एग्जाम्पल होगा और यूनिवर्सिटी उसको फॉलो करेगी। इसी आशा के साथ नील आर्मस्ट्रॉन्ग के शब्द हैं, दैट वन स्मॉल स्टेप on for men, maybe that we are taking right now, one giant leap for mankind, और ज्यादा इंक्लूसिव होके बोलूं तो ह्यूमन काइंड। तो वो सोचते हुए maybe we'll be able to take that leap sooner, but for that you all have to work, you all have to bring your regional identities and bring this heritage club to the forefront। उसी के साथ हमारी दो बहुत ही भावी छात्राएं हैं, नुपुर और शिवानी। उन्होंने अपने हाथ से मंडला आर्ट से सुचित्रित एक पेंटिंग बनाई है जो हम प्रिंसिपल सर को प्रस्तुत करना चाहते हैं। थैंक यू सो मच सर। हमारे जो भी एफर्ट होते हैं आप उनको अप्रूवल देते हैं, उसके लिए आपका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।
धन्यवाद मैम। कुछ कहानियां, कुछ अफसाने, थोड़े जाने कई अनजाने, वो पत्थरों के शिलालेख, वो घरों की मुस्कुराती दीवारें, कुछ तेरे कुछ मेरे, कुछ अपने कुछ उनके, कुछ बोलते कुछ सुनते, होते हैं रूबरू हमसे। वो अनकहे वो अनसुने, वो छुपे हुए हैं विरासतों के किस्से पुराने। भारत एक ऐसा देश है जहां की विरासत अत्यंत विस्तृत और विविध है। यहाँ बैठे हर एक व्यक्ति की अपनी एक विरासत होगी। किसी ने अपनी विरासत अपने खान पान में ढूंढी होगी, तो किसी ने अपनी वेशभूषा में, किसी ने अपने व्यवसाय में, तो किसी ने खानदानी नृत्य कला में। किंतु यहाँ बैठे, यहाँ उपस्थित आप सभी अगर अपने इतिहास के झरोखे से झांकें तो आपको अपनी विरासत अवश्य नजर आएगी। तो इसी उद्देश्य की पूर्ति हेतु विश्व विरासत दिवस प्रत्येक वर्ष 18 अप्रैल को मनाया जाता है। तो चलिए इसी श्रृंखला में आगे बढ़ते हुए मैं सादर आमंत्रित करता हूं हमारे प्राचार्य महोदय प्रोफेसर अरुण कुमार अत्री सर को कि वे अपने विचारों से हमें प्रबुद्ध करें। सर प्लीज।
Very good afternoon to all of you. I am thankful to Professor Seema Bawa for sparing her valuable time and coming for this lecture. I am thankful to my colleague, Ms. Nita Hussain, and all the teachers of history department and other departments also those who have joined, and my students, dear students of history department, for showing this enthusiasm and zeal. And special thanks to हमारा बच्चा जिसने इतने अच्छे संस्कृत के श्लोक पढ़े, इतना अच्छा एनवायरनमेंट इसने कर दिया शुरू में। तो देखिए ये इस प्रतिभा का धनी है, इसके लिए भी एक जोरदार तालियां बजाइए। सबसे अच्छा ये लगा कि यही हमारी हेरिटेज है बेसिकली, जो हमारा संस्कृत के जो ज्ञान है, सारी भाषाएं मुझे पता चला था कि वो संस्कृत से निकलती हैं। तो संस्कृत में इतना अच्छे से श्लोक बोलना, तो ये हेरिटेज क्लब की बहुत अच्छी शुरुआत है कि आपने कुछ संस्कृत के श्लोकों से ये किया। देखिए, हेरिटेज क्लब कोई भी नया आइडिया लेके आता है तो मैं उसके लिए हमेशा तैयार रहता हूँ। तो किसी तरीके का आइडिया हेरिटेज क्लब का जो कुछ साथी हमारे लेके आए, तो उसमें ज़्यादा देर नहीं लगाई, क्योंकि हमारी विरासत को जानने में अगर कोई कदम उठाया जा रहा है तो उस कदम का स्वागत करना चाहिए। इसी से सही इतिहास जो है उसका जानकारी होना, ये भी आज एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण बात है। और प्रोफेसर सीमा बावा से बेहतर कोई हो नहीं सकता था इसका। मैं इनको पहले से जानता हूँ। मैडम हमारी ट्रेजरार भी रही हैं गवर्निंग बॉडी की, जो हमारे प्रिंसिपल डॉक्टर पी के पुराना जी थे, एंड हमारे साथ मेरे साथ एसी मेंबर भी रही हैं और अभी भी हैं शायद। और मैम वहाँ पर भी बड़ी हर बात को बड़ी असर्टिव तरीके से रखी है जो सही बात होती है, तो इसीलिए मैं इनका प्रशंसक भी। तो मैम धन्यवाद आपका इस मौके पे आने के लिए, और सभी साथियों का मैं शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ कि उन्होंने ये आयोजित किया। और मैं चाहता हूँ कि आगे और भी इस तरह के कार्यक्रम होते हैं जिससे स्टूडेंट्स और टीचर्स सबको फायदा मिलता है। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद सर, आपकी उपस्थिति हमारे लिए अत्यंत बहुमूल्य है।
We reflect our heritage in every act and being of our body and mind. Consciously or not, it forms the outlook for our identities. The idea of India and its familiarity, inland or beyond its waters abroad, is always a conversation about its culture, food, clothes, music, art, its identity, India's heritage, our heritage. Generations of cultural amalgamation exist in harmony when viewed through the lens of heritage and not as cultural differences monopolized by political interest and violent power politics. The beauty of our country's identity lies in the heritage it preserves, procures, and performs. It respects the diversification of identities and how they interact. With such ideas to explore, we gather today for a lecture on the topic, Indian Heritage, Calibrating Responses by Professor Seema Bawa. I now invite ma'am to begin with the lecture and share her invaluable insights. Ma'am.
Right. So we can be as formal or as informal as you want. Okay? So I basically want to talk about 3 or 4 things which have emerged recently and from today's particular presentation. First, that you would have all noticed that at the India Today cover story, which was on the disintegrating heritage of Ajanta, right? All of you must have, it was majorly covered also in Google and other capsules, news capsules. So this is high time that we also think about what are we doing to heritage and not just what heritage is doing to us, right? We really need to calibrate our responses to our heritage. Are we actually preserving it or are we destroying it? And I think we need to actually think about these things, and a dialogue which you guys would be the best people to start and to carry forward, because it's you who are actually going to intervene in these policies and in these acts and behaviors and awareness in education. So I will of course be involving you in, we're all fellow criminals in this particular enterprise. The other one, which was very interesting, was the invocation that was recited by, I don't know the student's name, but yeah.
My name is Samvit Mohan.
Samvit Mohan Pattanayak. I found that very interesting, and I was just hoping that you would just reflect a little bit on that. That while Sanskrit is important, it's also very, very important to understand where it is coming from. It's not an undifferentiated mass of shlokas. It is very much part of a very formal way in which this was being taught and this was being transmitted. Why is it in that meter? Understood? Right? Ghana. Okay. So there are meters in Sanskrit, and these are meters which help memorize. That's why they are like that. There are schools of recitation which emphasize one or the other thing. So this is very much part of our formal heritage. The things that were being talked about, food and clothes, folk songs, this is what comes under intangible heritage. And there's a very large amount of intangible heritage that makes up who we are, makes up our cultural identities within a community, within a family, and then as individuals. There are various units that we can discuss. It could be a regional identity, it could be a linguistic identity, and so on and so forth. But it will all boil down to कि कढ़ी किसके यहाँ कैसे बनती है, या रंगोली कैसे बनती है, या शादी पर क्या गाने गाए जाते हैं. So this all becomes intangible heritage when it is shared by a community. By singing in a particular way, it makes no difference to the heritage part of it. The heritage part of it is only when it is shared. It's shared amongst a defined group of people. Okay? It could be a clan, it could be family, it could be gotra, and so on and so forth. Tangible heritage. Now that is very difficult. Yeah. Intangible heritage is something that we can and very often carry with us, and even if it changes, we don't mind. Right? मतलब अगर अचार ऐसे नहीं बना वैसे बन गया तो इतना कोई मतलब कहर नहीं टूट जाएगा. बोलिए.
अचार और आचार तो आचार में अगर सलाइवा या फिर थूक दे तो वो प्रिजर्व नहीं होता है. तो टैंजिबल और इंटैंजिबल का बाद में हम लोग चर्चा करते हैं.
Okay. So pickles, and some are pickles, right? So if in pickles you put more oil and you put less oil, you put a particular kind of condiment and don't put a particular kind of condiment, it will change the family recipe, but and what you then will pass on to somebody else, it will make a difference. However, when it comes to formal, tangible heritage, if you were to change the words of a shlok, right, that would be disastrous. Okay? Because you are intervening in 5,000 years or more of a shared heritage, and that you need to be very careful about. When you actually change something in a Vanshavali, you know what a Vanshavali is? A genealogy. Alright? There are various regional genealogies, there are local genealogies, there are these could be of things, but these are also just the families. Now, this is something that is where you have tangible and intangible heritages that are kind of coming together, coming apart, so one has to be careful about that. But my problem is, because I'm an art historian, will be about art and architecture and archaeology. That is where my problem really starts, right? That of, okay, let's start in 1905. What happened in 1905? Heritage ruins? Huh? Curzon Partition of Bengal. Yeah. 1905, the Indian Antiquities Act is passed, right? Cunningham is not right?
Yeah.
Right? So Curzon goes to Agra Fort and sees what the disasters that have been wrought by post-Mughal dynasties and the Britishers. And says, ये क्या किया? Right? इसमें कहीं ईंट लगा दी तुमने, कहीं तुमने वो चूना लगा दिया, ऐसे इधर उधर, तो ऐसा नहीं चलेगा. तो वो he starts deliberating on this, and I think 1906 it actually gets passed. So the Indian, वो blue board देखा है हर monument के सामने, वो है, ठीक है? That is what it is. Every national monument has a blue board outside it, which tells you what you can do and what you can't do within the monument, and how it is a protected monument, right? This is Curzon. Now the Indian Antiquities and Monuments Act is a very important act because it tells us that you can conserve, you can preserve a monument, but you can't change it, right? So अगर वो इतना गिर गया है तो इतने पे उसको स्टेबलाइज कर दो, उसको फिर से बना मत देना, नहीं तो वो दूसरी कुतुब मीनार बना देते ना, हाँ क्यों नहीं बनाई? जहां पर है उसको वही कंजर्व करो, अदरवाइज यू आर, why? Because you are drastically intervening in history, right? Which leads to inaccuracies, and it does not lead to preservation of your heritage. So you cannot make substantial changes to the condition and status in which you found that place. This is something that all archaeologists understand, right? So there is a hue and cry when S.R. Rao puts blue ceramic tiles on the bulge, है ना? बहुत लड़ाई हुई थी, हाँ? सब बुर्ज के ऊपर उन्हें ब्लू सेरेमिक टाइल्स लगा दी थी, और हमें याद है 1970 में और 1980 में some archaeologists were up in arms, including international community. कि ये क्या है? हाँ? Why have you not used the original tiles, which are greenish blue, right? That is the way the 14th to 15th century Sultanate tiles were being made based on the experience that they had from the Persian Empire. Now, this is exactly what we are talking about. That when we intervene in heritage, either through efforts to conserve, but more dangerously because we all want to see it. Tourism. Tourism is one thing that is leading to the current disaster, which is Ajanta. Somewhere in, how Ajanta was discovered, that's a very well-known story. You know that it was copied for wider dissemination by the Germans, by the British, and also by Indian, including Nandlal Bose, had copied these murals along with Shantiniketan students. But it was also widely photographed, and to widely photograph it, it was lit with fluorescent lights. Then you had tourists. पहले तो मशालें थी, मशालें थी, उनका सूट था. फिर जब मशालें खत्म हुई तो उन्होंने बड़ी बड़ी लाइटें लगा दी. That led to fading of the colors, right? Now you cannot use lights and you can't use flashes, but forever you were using flashes and big lights to light them up. And now colors are completely faded compared to the paintings that were made up to even 1950s of Ajanta, where the lights, the colors are really bright of the noodles. Now they're dulled. Please go to Taj Mahal. No? If you, and it really burns my soul when I go to Taj Mahal and my daughter says कि नहीं डाल दो लोगों को, I can't resist. But आपने देखे हैं गड्ढे, मतलब it is not wearing out. It is actually, you know, these are gaddhas, these are depressions in the marble. Oh, thousands and lakhs of tourists going up that stairway has led to an erosion which is something that even dinosaurs wouldn't have done to marble. But just imagine that marble has been whittled down from this to this. How are we actually preserving and conserving our built heritage or our painted heritage? Is things that we really need to consider. And also, you know, we also have to also think about, and there's something that reminds me so much of, I'm sure you've heard of Ozymandias. You all read Ozymandias, Shelley, right? Time does a lot. Humans do more. So what time does, we can't prevent. What we can do, we should think about. Right? Also, I just want to show you some things as to how we are going to think about heritage. You know, how we can actually talk about history, and just show you some examples, and then we will go on and discuss it. Okay? My talking to you, why should I simply talk to you? Alright. I think all of you are familiar with this painting, so that is why I've taken it. Guernica. Pablo Picasso, 1937. The fascists bombed a village in Spain called Guernica, to which this is a very monumental painting. It's really huge. It's in black and white. It was very heavy, so I had to convert it to black and white. It is, like the Mona Lisa, one of the most huge paintings in world art history. Right? People, I would travel only to see the Guernica, like you would travel only to see. Now, what is it that it tells us? You know? How? And it is very much part of the proud heritage of the Spanish. Okay? They are extremely proud of this, just as we would probably be of Raja Ravi Verma, but more so, because it's an internationally valued farmer. Okay. Now, what does it tell us about that moment of time? And this is where heritage comes in. That why is it the part of British, the Spanish heritage and the world heritage? Because it tells about a moment of time which is about violence, war, destruction, and its memorialization in history, okay, and in art. This memorialization is what makes heritage important. How we remember things, alright? Memory plays a very, very, very important part, because what we forget is as important as what we remember and what we choose to remember, alright? So this is what, at that point, Pablo Picasso chose to remember. And this is how we read this. But I think you're not familiar with it. I won't go on to the... yes. heritage is manipulated, and I'm sure you've, huh? No, it is the antiquarian. Alright? Antiquarian is a very curious monument or collection in Munich. The Duke of Bavaria decided that he was going to collect all busts and sculptures of Roman kings and queens, many kings, Caesars. Okay? And he collected them all and put them in a museum kind of a thing, which is known as the antiquarium. Right? Now, in this antiquarium, what is it? And why did he do it? Think, why would the Duke of Bavaria in the 15th, 16th century decide to collect all these things and put them all together? He's linking himself to the Roman Empire, right? To the memory of the Roman Empire, to the memory of the Roman culture and civilization and all that it represents. So he is actually using heritage which is not directly his to manipulate images, power, authority, and intellectual tradition. Above this is the library, and in that library he collected a lot of Roman manuscripts. All right, so that you want to read about these guys, go up and read about them. And then, because there's the Habsburgs were the Holy Roman Emperors, etc., etc. You must have read this as history students. So the entire, how heritage can actually be deployed in various ways is something that I find very interesting, and how art is actually being used to deploy this heritage. And it's done, ऊपर तक जा रहा है, ये नहीं कि छत भी छोड़ दियो, वहां तक उसने लेके जाएगी, आग भी उठाओगे तो यही दिखेगा. So, at least for me, it's a fascinating place, because you can read, he wanted you to read histories of the Romans and then vaguely connected to him, but when we read it today, we are not just reading histories of the Romans, but we are also reading Bavarian history, and we are connecting it to various other trends of Catholicism, of the Holy Roman Empire, and so on and so forth. Renaissance. This is very much part of the Renaissance movement, etc. So there are so many strands of heritage of various peoples, not just one people, of various peoples being used by other people. That comes into play here. Next. Now we come to our own, the very misunderstood dancing movement. It's become the symbol of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, which carry so much weight of heritage in it. Slim little girl is much, and the entire whatever of art, religion, gender, everything is read through this particular thing, right? Or misread through this particular thing, because it becomes, a symbol more than an object. Heritage works in various ways. It is symbolic, and that is why objects become more than what they are. The meanings we ascribe to something, right? This is a very small, if you want to read, you can read it, but basically, okay, next. Okay, this is Ozymandias, right? Next. And that is why I wanted to, after Ozymandias, I wanted to put this This is Kanishka from Mount, right? In Mathura Museum. The mighty king Kanishka. In the Ravatak inscription, he is described as having conquered India, having subdued up to whatever, like all great prashastis, whether it's Samudragupta prashasti, whether it is Pulakeshan prashasti, or to begin with Kanishka's prashasti, that you find in Ravatak inscription. How many of us actually know anything about this? Okay, how many of us actually know one mart where the four great Kushana rulers were deified and worshipped in a Devakul, and a similar Devakul was found in Surkhotal in Afghanistan. And this particular portrait that you have of Kanishka, headless nevertheless, okay, but still, what does it tell us about our heritage? He's wearing a Scythian tunic. He's wearing a salwar-like garment. Alright, he's wearing high boots. He's wearing a scabbard. Okay, and this is the dress which of the gods wears? Do you recall which god wears this? Surya. Surya wears this. And Surya wears this not because Kanishk is identified with Surya. It's the other way around. Because Surya is dressed in what is known as the northerner's dress. The term for it is the northerner's dress. Right? And that is why you have Surya wearing boots and tunics and a particular kind of a crown. I find that fascinating, that actually what we have is a very, very, heritage is not independent of political factors or religious factors, or it's not an entity that exists in a vacuum, right? We must think about heritage as a process rather than a moment, right? It's always a process. Okay? It comes into being. Upanishad में लिखा है ना, becoming, है ना? The act of becoming. तो ये विरासत क्या है? हम सब बन रहे हैं, ठीक है? We are becoming from somewhere, and we have to make these connections in order to talk about heritage and to talk about how we connect to it and how it's come down to us today, right? Because every object which we consider heritage has a history and it has a memory. Now I come to this extremely interesting thing. I'm sure you all recognize this. This is Firosha Kotla with Ashoka's pillar from Topra. Alright? So this is the Topra pillar. Why I have chosen it is also to talk about how art, memory and heritage play a role. I start from 1947. You know that Firosha Kotla was a refugee camp? Right? You all know that, right? How? I wonder how. And this is not being actually, I haven't read it, I'm trying to find something, how refugees looked at these, at Topra pillar in particular. Right? we do know how Firoz Shah looked at it, right? Because it's actually been memorialized in his Tawarikh, right? Where it says he brought it here, he got Brahmins to come and try and read it, they couldn't read it, etc. And it is known as a lot. So my point was कि but भैया इतने सारे पिलर थे ये कह लाया? Because in public memory of that period, this must have had a lot of resonance, and that is why he's getting this one. लोग बोल रहे हैं लाट बाबा है, अभी भी बोलते हैं ना बेसनगर का पिलर जब देखने जाते हो हीलियोडोरस का, भाई हीलियोडोरस ने बनाया था, लाट बाबा बन गया, अब उसकी पूजा होती है, क्यों होती है? क्योंकि वो लाट बाबा है। तो ऑब्जेक्ट का मीनिंग चेंज हो सकता है और होता रहा है। नेक्स्ट वन, I won't talk so much about it because there are many more things that next one. I have only 5 more minutes. Oh, well, I said 40 minutes and next. Alright, let's come to this. ये तो सब जानते हैं, इसको तो आपने हर पॉइंट नोट स्टेशनरी सब पे दिखाए, हाँ, पार्लियामेंट बिल्डिंग पे उस पे सारी कंट्रोवर्सी भी होगी कि वो मोटा है, छोटा है, लंबा है, मोटा है, एंग्री है, क्या है। तो बहरहाल ऐसे मिला था, और ये छोटा नहीं है, बहुत बड़ा है, मोन्यूमेंटल है। इसका जो मतलब हमने तो इसको नेशनल सिंबल की तरह, एम्बलम की तरह ले लिया, पर इसकी कोई मीनिंग भी रहे हैं, उसके बारे में बात करते हैं। और ये इतिहास में इसका क्या रोल रहा होगा, कैसे ये खेला होगा, तो ये तो ब्रिटिशर्स ने डिस्कवर किया, ठीक है। जब ब्रिटिशर्स ने डिस्कवर किया तो उन्होंने म्यूजियमाइज कर दिया, इसे म्यूजियम में डाल दिया। फिर किसी को लगा ना अशोक बहुत ग्रेट था। There's a discovery, you read this, and I'm sure your history teachers would have told you how Ashoka was discovered, and he became very much part of the pantheon of great good kings of India, right? Then they decided to incorporate it into the nationalist, symbology, which included its use as the national emblem. There's a National Emblems Act. Okay, I won't talk about this because then I will get solidly into controversy and may even be arrested. So I will not talk about it. Yeah. So National Emblems Act, but there is a National Emblem Act which protects its use. You can't just put it any which way. It has a certain resonance and memory and official value to it today, right? But it didn't have an official value for the colonial people who saw the archaeologists who discovered it. They thought that it's a beautiful piece of art. It is influenced by Persepolis. They talked about it in Greek and to an extent Achaemenid influences on it. They talked about Mauryan polish, Chunar sandstone, etc., etc. It is the nationalist historiography that then talked about its power, its symbology of power, why there are 4 lions who are adorned and why are they with open mouths. What do that mean? What does it mean for Dhamma? It was first interpreted as a Buddhist thing, then was interpreted as Dhamma, then it was interpreted as nationalist, and then it became part of the official part. Can we go back? Can we go to the next one? Alright. This is the object, that is the envelope. Right? it even has a little thing which has nothing to do with the Dhamma of Ashoka. उसने कभी नहीं बोला सत्यमेव जयते उसका नहीं है, वो तो बोलता है यो नाम पिए पिए दसी देव नाम पिए एक्सेट्रा। अकेला यही नहीं है, और भी जगह है। नेक्स्ट ये पिलर क्यों था? You know, it has become so much. But what was a pillar? A pillar was an object of worship. In the Vedas and in the Grihya Sutras and in very many texts, including visualization, this is how it was actually worshipped. Why on earth did Ashoka decide to inscribe his Dhamma and other edicts on pillars? Because pillars were already objects of worship. दो स्तंभ की पूजा करते थे, यूप की तरह पूजा करते थे, स्तंभ की पूजा करते थे। बहुत से जॉन अर्विन का वर्स में बहुत काम है, मैं उसमें रिपीट नहीं करूंगी, ठीक है। तो जब ये पहले ही पूजा युक्त था, तभी अशोक ने उस पर अपना उत्कीर्ण किया। So it already has a history which is before Ashoka, right? Then Ashoka inscribes his history on it. Then Samudragupta in another one. Next, do I have that? I don't know. Okay, next. I won't go into it. Next year, I don't know. Then it gets, how is it memorialized in Sanchi? You can see this, that you have Dhamma Chakra on it. It is also adapted like this. Next. Okay, next. Right, but it is also the same symbol you find in Thailand. The Siamese kings are also using the same symbol because it becomes a symbol of power. Right? It is something that is absolutely with sovereignty, religious and ritual power. It is instantly understood that ये इसका मतलब ये. Okay? So that my other point is that these kings, could get other pillars made. They had the resources. अब समुद्रगुप्त को क्या पड़ी थी कि वो दूसरी साइड ही क्यों इंस्क्राइब करेगा उसे? फिर जहांगीर उसको उठा के लाएगा, फिर अपना उस पर इंस्क्राइब करेगा. And there are also lots of minor inscriptions on the Allahabad pillar, which is now in the OD fort, the Ordnance Depot fort, which is under the army. Now, why would you use the same object if it does not have extraordinary value beyond the object per se? Right? So, I want you to think about it, how heritage is actually layered over years. And we need to read and understand its history in order to actually calibrate our responses to this history and heritage, and also not overuse it, like the Ashokan Stamba. तुम भी उस पे डालो कुछ और कुछ मिलेगा. Right? Let me see. Yeah, this is the one that is in Watamong near Chiang Mai in the 13th century. Just the same. Huh? No, it's a pillar of. It's actually the Buddhist monastery. Again, similarly, this happens with Junagadh. है ना, नेशनल म्यूजियम में भी है, बिल्कुल सामने. ठीक है, ये नेशनल म्यूजियम वाला है, वो अंदर वाला जो है वो जूनागढ़ का है. अब जूनागढ़ में भी और इतने सारे पत्थर नहीं मिले थे, सब उसी में जाके उसमें पहले अशोक करेगा, फिर रुद्र दमन करेगा, फिर स्कंदगुप्त करेगा, सब उधर ही जाके उस पे करेंगे. पत्थर है क्यों? That is something that I want you to think about in terms of what makes heritage heritage. Okay? Not now, but also in history. We are reading our current data, but at some point, these are heritage stones and boulders and pillars, whatever, for subsequent stones. Okay? Just to show you, that's the Skandagop side, that is the Shuka side, that's the Rudram. Next. Yeah, just go on. I've talked about this already. This was recut and reframed. Next. I don't want to. Oh my God. No. I will not talk about all these things. Another time. Call me another time. Alright? Because this is something that I want to. Maybe I'll talk about it later at some point. Yeah. But at the moment I'll leave you with this so that we can have some questions. Otherwise it's just me talking and not. Okay? Just